After my fiancée became my sister-in-law, I took 20 billion from my biased father's assets, and left Jingbei, this place of heartache, and posted a status on WeChat Moments. My fiancée ran away with my brother. This young master is now single and available. The photo was an abs shot I spent over 100,000 on. The next second, her friend called in disbelief. Shen Buyu, are you kidding me? Fang Xiu is that handsome. Any woman would fall for him. Even I can't resist him. And you dare let him be single? Upon learning the news of my departure, Shen Buyu was furious. She immediately told her assistant to find out where I was. But the answer was that I had already left the country. President Shen, given your status, you aren't allowed to leave the country. This time, I'm afraid he really doesn't want you anymore. Shen Buyu's pupils contracted. She suddenly remembered her conversation with friends at the club. Buyu just came from a place of pleasure, didn't you? That guy Fang Xiu, usually as wild as a young wolf, looking down on everyone. But how is it that in front of you, he's both cute and wild? It makes my heart ache with longing. When do you plan to marry him? I stopped in my tracks. My heart pounded, my face full of anticipation. However, what I heard was, just playing around. Marry? Why? Her tone was casual. 7 words, light as a feather. But to me, they were like 7 poisoned knives, precisely stabbing into my heart. At the same time, the private room fell into an eerie silence. Obviously, even her group of besties were stunned. After an unknown amount of time, someone cautiously broke the silence. No way, Sister Shen. It's been 3 years. You still have that first love in your heart? First love. My mind went blank with a buzz. Completely empty. Shen Buyu has a first love. I was like a puppet whose soul had been ripped out, standing blankly outside the door, hearing Shen Buyu give a faint When we broke up back then, he told me to give him 3 years. He would try being with others, and let me try being with others too. If we still liked each other, we would get back together. I did as he wished. 3 years have passed. I'm done trying. She paused. He should be coming back now. I felt as if I'd been struck by lightning. My whole body went cold. Even my fingertips were shaking. These 3 years of intimacy, countless moments I thought our hearts were connected, were actually just an experiment for her to try others. Then what about Fang Xiu? With his temperament, if he finds out? But before the words finished, I slammed the heavy door of the room open. Everyone inside was startled. They all looked toward the door simultaneously. I stood there, my face terrifyingly pale. I stared intensely at the woman sitting in the main seat, but she didn't, because of my sudden appearance, show any surprise or panic. Still maintaining that cold and distant look. If she liked me even a little, she wouldn't react this way right now. I walked up to her, looking closely at her face. Shen Buyu, do you have nothing to say to me? There's nothing to say. It's exactly as you heard. We were just playing around. I always thought, you know very well, Shen Luoheng made a bet with you, to win me over. And you could pick any luxury car from his garage. If you feel luxury cars aren't enough. As she spoke, she took a black bank card from her pocket, and gently pushed it across the coffee table toward me. There is 100 million here. Consider it payment for being on call these 3 years. From now on, our relationship is completely over. After saying that, she stood up, and prepared to leave. But the moment she passed by me, I suddenly reached out, and gripped her wrist tightly. Shen Buyu. But I fell for her. As I spoke, I thought of every little detail from the past 3 years, but she just shook her head, and held up her phone to me. A new message preview caught my eye. Buyu, it's been 3 years. I've tried, but I still only love you. Let's get back together. In that instant, I felt my world completely collapse. Shen Buyu paused for a moment on the screen. Then, bit by bit, she pried away my fingers that were gripping her tightly. Sorry. I didn't feel the same. After saying that, without a single glance back, she turned and walked away. She said she didn't feel the same. So, for these 3 years, I was the only one. Only I, like a fool. In this play she directed, poured in all my true feelings. I froze in place, looking at my empty hands. The next second, I suddenly grabbed that expensive bottle of foreign liquor on the coffee table, and smashed it violently on the floor. Everyone in the private room was terrified. No one dared to step forward to stop me. I don't know how much time passed. I walked out of the club. As the night wind blew, my face felt ice cold. I haphazardly wiped away my tears, and hailed a taxi. Follow that Maybach ahead. I want to see with my own eyes. The one she's longed for 3 years. The idealized love I could never compete with. Who exactly they are. Seeing my state, the driver, didn't dare ask more, stepped on the gas and followed. However, Shen Buyu, who was always calm and a steady driver, was now driving significantly faster. Seeing this, my heart ached again. Is she that impatient to see her idealized love? The car finally stopped at the international airport's arrivals level. I paid the fare, stumbled out of the car, hiding behind a pillar. I saw Shen Buyu standing at the exit. Then, a man walked out pulling a suitcase. When I saw that man's face, I felt as if I'd been struck by lightning. Not only because when Shen Buyu rushed toward him, he opened his arms and caught her steadily, and leaned down to kiss her hair, but more because that idealized love was actually Fang Xiu, that man who is my brother in name, the person I loathe most and least want to be associated with in my life. Back then, less than half a year after my mother died in a car accident, my father brought a woman home. That woman also brought a son who was 3 years older than me. That was Fang Xiu. My father explained that the woman was his first love, and Fang Xiu was her biological son. If my mother hadn't forced her way into his life back then, he wouldn't have let his first love break up with him while pregnant. But I know the truth better than anyone. Back then, my father desperately needed funds for his business. He was at the end of his rope, couldn't even afford to eat. He was the one who approached my mother, who had pursued him for a long time, promising that as long as her family invested, he would marry her. My mother provided the funds for him, gave him all her love, even in a later car accident. She gave her life to push him out of harm's way. And the result? Before my mother's body was even cold, my father turned around and used her dowry and inheritance as a betrothal gift, to marry that so-called first love in grand style. Shen Buyu could have liked anyone. Why did it have to be Fang Xiu? While I was dazed, Shen Buyu had already taken Fang Xiu's luggage, and walked toward the parking lot. As if possessed, I hailed another car, and continued to follow them, because I was following closely. Through the car window, I clearly saw inside the car ahead. Shen Buyu turned her head, saying something gently to Fang Xiu. She even reached out, very naturally tucking a loose strand of hair behind Fang Xiu's ear. This kind of tenderness, in the 3 years I was with her, I had never once received. Just as I stared intently ahead, and my vision blurred with tears, an accident suddenly occurred at the intersection ahead. The screeching of brakes and the sound of impact rang out one after another. The taxi I was in was caught off guard, and rear-ended the car in front. Then it was violently hit by the car behind. A massive impact struck. I felt my forehead slam hard against the back of the front seat. A surge of intense pain. Blood instantly flowed down, blurring my vision. Amidst the chaos and screams, through the shattered window, I saw the door of that familiar Maybach open. Shen Buyu stepped out first, quickly rounding to the passenger seat, carefully pulling Fang Xiu out from inside. Shen Buyu supported him, checking his injuries, her brows furrowed, her face full of heartache. Finally, she supported Fang Xiu, and turned to leave the scene of the accident. But the moment she turned, she and I, trapped in the back seat of the deformed taxi, locked eyes. I saw shock in her eyes, but it vanished in an instant. Fang Xiu seemed to notice her pause. Buyu, what's wrong? Did you see someone you know? I'm fine. If there's someone you know here, you should go check on them. I heard a taxi was hit very hard. After a few seconds of silence, Shen Buyu looked away. No one I know. Just strangers. After saying that, she supported Fang Xiu, and left the chaotic scene without looking back. When I woke up again, I was in the hospital. A nurse was adjusting the 4 drip on the back of my hand. Seeing me awake, she reminded me, Mr. Fang, you're finally awake. Your injuries are not light. You need to stay for observation. We also need to contact your family to settle the medical bills. But my eyes were hollow, with no reaction at all. The nurse repeated herself, Mr. Fang. Just then, a familiar voice rang out. I've already paid the medical bills. I snapped my head around, and saw Shen Buyu standing right at the door of the ward. Seeing this, the nurse tactfully left the room. Shen Buyu walked in. Her gaze swept over my bandaged wound. Then she reached out, as if wanting to touch my forehead. I turned my head away. President Shen is a busy woman. Why come to look after someone irrelevant? Shen Buyu paused. If I don't come, who else would? Look at what you're saying. Yeah. Who else do I have? My mother passed away early. My father was biased. My stepmother was hypocritical. That home stopped being mine long ago. For these 3 years, it was her, Shen Buyu, who appeared time and again when I needed her most, making me used to depending on her, making me mistakenly believe I had found a harbor. But now, the one who pushed me back into the abyss with her own hands, was also her. Even if no one comes, I don't need you to care. You said it yourself, that we are over. President Shen, I'm not that pathetic. You said you don't like me. I won't keep shamelessly clinging to you. I took a deep breath, struggling to maintain the last shred of pride. You don't actually think I was serious about having feelings for you, do you? I was just talking. We were just playing around. Also, Shen Buyu, you're such a fake. Shen Buyu looked at me pretending to be fierce, yet with eyes rimmed red. Her brows knit slightly. She was about to say something, but just then, a nurse hurried into the room. Miss Shen, Mr. Fang Xiu's examination is finished. He's been looking for you. Hearing this, I reacted like a cat whose tail had been stepped on. That's enough. Go back to your first love. I don't need you here. Shen Buyu looked at me in silence for a few seconds. Finally, she spoke. I didn't come to be with you for any other reason. You are Shen Luheng's friend. He asked me to look after you. Until this moment, I finally couldn't help but laugh. But although this small smile pulled at my wound, the pain wasn't even a fraction of the pain in my heart. Shen Buyu, rest assured, I'm not that delusional. At this moment, Shen Buyu's heart trembled slightly. This was the first time she saw me cry. Her mouth opened slightly, as if she wanted to say something, but in the end, she said nothing. She turned and left the ward with the nurse. Watching her resolute departing figure, I finally couldn't hold on anymore, and collapsed on the hospital bed. I thought I would cry for a long time, but strangely, the tears soon ran dry. For the next few days, I was alone in the hospital, taking care of myself. I broke into a cold sweat from the pain when changing dressings. Food tasted like wax when I ate. Occasionally, I would hear the nurses whispering in the hallway, saying Mr. Fang Xiu in the VIP room next door is so lucky. How attentive Miss Shen is. Personally feeding him food and water. Staying up all night to care for him. Once, I passed by that room. Through the gap of the half-closed door, I saw Shen Buyu sitting by the bed, peeling an apple. That scene was seared into my eyes. The pain made my vision go black. But I didn't cry. My greatest strength, Fang Xiu, is being able to love and let go. After being discharged, the first thing I did was to apply for a visa. This city, I didn't want to stay in for another moment. After getting the visa, I returned home. Just as I entered, I ran into my exquisitely made-up stepmother. Seeing me, she habitually began to lecture me. Fang Xiu, so you finally know how to come back. I didn't even look at her, and directly took a half-person tall celadon vase from the entryway and smashed it on the floor. A loud crash echoed. Shards flew everywhere. Lin Wan screamed in fright, and stepped back 2 paces. Who do you think you are? A third party who destroys other people's families. How dare you try to lecture me? Lin Wan, remember this. As long as I, Fang Xiu, am in this house for one more day, you'll never be able to hold your head up high. I was sharp-tongued, making Lin Wan's face turn pale with rage, her whole body trembling. Fang Xiu, what madness are you acting out again? Father Fang rushed out of the study upon hearing the noise, quickly supporting the trembling Lin Wan, glaring at me with anger. You cause chaos the moment you return. Can't you be more sensible? Looking at my father protecting that woman, I sneered. I cause chaos? Fine. As long as you divide the family assets and give me my share now, I'll go abroad and never come back to bother you again. Fang Minghong was stunned. Then a look of hypocritical concern appeared on his face. Nonsense. Going abroad? Why would you go? Stay here. This is where your home will always be. We are a family. It sounded like the biggest joke I'd ever heard. Stop acting. Fang Minghong. You, she, and Fang Xiu. You are the family. My mother is dead. I no longer have a home. Just name the price. I want the part one deserve. Hearing this, Fang Minghong's expression immediately soured. After a long silence, he spoke with a fake tone. Dad knows you have grievances with the family. How about this? Dad will give you 5 million first. Go clear your head. 5 million. Fang Minghong. The reason you have today is because of my grandfather's funds, because of the dowry my mother brought, and even your very life. Everything was bought with my mother's life. Now you're taking my mother's money to support this mistress and illegitimate child, living in the house my mother bought, and you think 5 million is enough to brush off her own son? Have you no shame? Fang Minghong was hit where it hurts. He flew into a rage. Just how much do you want? Speak up. I was prepared. I pulled a document from my pocket, and calmly stated the figures and equity names. You're crazy. This is impossible. You're trying to gut half of the Fang Corporation. It's fine if you don't agree. Outside the villa, I've planted bombs. Either you agree to the money, and sign this agreement, or we all die here today. Choose. Fang Xiu, you are absolutely insane. I am insane. Fang Minghong's face turned pale. His breathing grew rapid, staring intensely at me, as if judging whether I was lying. In the end, the fear of death overcame everything. Is this okay now? Now hurry up and deal with the bombs. Don't worry, there are no bombs. I lied to you. After all, that's how you tricked my mother into marrying you, wasn't it? Only then did Fang Minghong realize he'd been played. He was so angry he almost fainted. He pointed at me for a long time, but couldn't utter a single word. Now that I have what I wanted, I couldn't be bothered to look at him. Just as I turned to go upstairs, your brother is bringing his girlfriend home for dinner today. I don't care how you've misbehaved before, but this time, you must finish this meal properly. His girlfriend is Shen Buyu. You know the status of the Bai family in Jing City. We cannot afford to offend them. Put away your rebellious streak, and don't cause me any trouble. My steps toward the stairs stopped abruptly. My back stiffened instantly. Shen Buyu. Today, as Fang Zun's girlfriend, she is visiting. Before I could think further, the next second, the door opened. Fang Zun, holding Shen Buyu's hand, walked in with a beaming smile. Dad, Mom, I'm back. Father Fang and the stepmother, who had just recovered, immediately put on enthusiastic smiles, and rushed forward to greet them. They showered Fang Zun with concern, and were extremely respectful toward Shen Buyu, their attitude fawning. Only Shen Buyu, when her gaze fell upon me, frowned visibly, as if only then realizing that I was actually Fang Zun's brother. During dinner, Fang Zun and Shen Buyu naturally sat together, while I sat alone opposite them. Throughout the meal, I watched as Shen Buyu meticulously served food for Fang Zun, peeling shrimp for him. Seeing this, Lin Wan's face lit up with a smile. Fang Zun, how did you and Miss Shen meet? Tell Mom about it. It was at a charity gala. I saw a stray cat trapped in a tree, and wanted to help it, but I couldn't get up there no matter what. Buyu was the one who helped me. Afterwards, she asked for my contact information. When he spoke, he even had the shyness of an innocent young man. Seeing this, I couldn't help but sneer. Fang Zun had hated small animals since childhood. He had even tortured cats to death when he was young. How could he possibly take the initiative to save a cat? The family of 4 chatted and ate in harmony. I had no heart to play along with this happy family act, so I stood up and went to the garden. But not long after, Fang Zun followed me out. Fang Xiu, enjoying the breeze all by yourself? Actually, I know why you're like this. People in our circle told me everything about those 3 years between you and Buyu. With my back to him, my body stiffened slightly, but I didn't look back. To be honest, when I first found out, I was actually a bit worried. After all, with my brother's charm that appeals to everyone, who wouldn't be tempted? What a pity. That face of his was wasted. Your mother couldn't compete with mine. And as for you, you can't compete with me either. These past 3 years were nothing more than charity I gave you. Now that the rightful one is back, you, a mere fake, should exit the stage. I slowly turned around, my eyes devoid of the anger or sadness Fang Zun expected. Only mockery. Charity? Fang Zun, have you stayed abroad for too long, that you've forgotten what you are? A bastard son who only managed to enter the house because his mother was a mistress. A pathetic worm who relies on schemes to catch women. You're in no position to talk about charity to me. Your mother picked up the trash mine threw away, and you picked up the woman I didn't want. You two, mother and son, truly take after each other, specializing in picking up other people's leftovers. The smile on Fang Zun's face froze instantly, his face turning pale and then flushed. You think you've won? You're just the leftovers I, Fang Xiu, played with, a woman I no longer wanted. You picked her up and showed her off like she was some treasure. After saying that, I turned to leave. But the moment I turned, Fang Xiu behind me suddenly let out a scream. His forehead slammed directly into the edge of a decorative stone bench in the garden, instantly spraying blood. Fang Xiu. Almost simultaneously, Shen Buyu, Fang Minghong, and Lin Wan rushed out from the living room. Fang Xiu lay on the ground, clutching his bleeding forehead. Dad, Mom, Buyu. Don't blame her. I just lost my balance. Lin Wan immediately rushed over to hug her son. Fang Xiu, why are you so silly? She treated you like this, and you're still speaking up for her? Minghong's face was livid, pointing at me, furious. Fang Xiu, what have you done to your brother again? I stood my ground, coldly watching this carefully orchestrated framing act. My gaze first swept over my enraged father, my hypocritical stepmother, and finally landed on Shen Buyu. I saw her crouching beside Fang Xiu, carefully checking his wound. Then she looked up, staring at me with hatred. Great, this woman doesn't believe me either. Then again, Fang Xiu is the one she truly cares for. Why should she believe me? I thought for a moment, then walked over step by step. Under everyone's astonished gaze, I grabbed a heavy ceramic flower pot nearby, and without hesitation, aimed it at the spot where Fang Xiu had just cut his forehead and smashed it down hard. After a dull thud, came an even more piercing scream from Fang Xiu. I let go, dropping the shattered flower pot. Listen up. I didn't do it just now. But now I did. Everyone was stunned, including Shen Buyu. I dropped the remaining ceramic shards in my hand, and turned to leave. However, my wrist was suddenly gripped by a powerful force. Shen Buyu gripped me tightly, her face so dark it looked like it could drip. Chairman Fang, your son has done such a thing. If he isn't disciplined properly, I'm afraid I won't let this go. Fang Minghong felt for Fang Xiu, yet feared Shen Buyu's power, quickly bowing and scraping. Rest assured, President Shen, I will definitely teach this arrogant, rebellious son a lesson. He immediately called the bodyguards. Seize this rebellious son, and take him to the ancestral hall to kneel. You dare? I struggled, glaring fiercely at my father. However, Fang Minghong looked at Shen Buyu, asking flatteringly, do you think making him kneel in the ancestral hall to reflect? Is this punishment? Shen Buyu helped up Fang Xiu, whose forehead was bleeding profusely. She swept her cold gaze over me. The words she spat out were utterly cruel. Too light. I just noticed a horse whip hanging in the study. That's not just for show, is it? After saying that, she leaned on Fang Xiu, and left without looking back. I was struck as if by lightning, watching her departing figure in disbelief. She actually hinted for Fang Minghong to whip me. Fang Minghong understood immediately, and shouted at the bodyguards, did you hear me? Give him 30 lashes first. Then drag him to the ancestral hall to kneel. Without my permission. Do not get up. I struggled desperately, but was pinned down firmly by the bodyguards. Outnumbered, I still wasn't calm enough, although I claimed not to care. In reality, I cared desperately. Otherwise, I wouldn't have let a few words from Fang Xiu trigger my anger. I was forcibly dragged to the side hall. When I regained consciousness, I found myself lying on the bed in my room. My whole body felt as if it had been crushed. Zhang Ma, the servant, was secretly applying medicine to me. Wiping her tears, she whispered, young master, please just yield to the master. Why suffer such agony? I shook my head weakly. Yield? Yielding to this family only means being picked clean to the bone. I paused, forcing a smile that looked worse than crying. It's just a beating. I also cracked Fang Xiu's head open. It's a fair trade. I can bear it. After speaking, I struggled to pull a bank card from under my pillow, and pressed it into Zhang Ma's hand. Take this. Zhang Ma was startled, and quickly refused. Young master, how can I take your money? I prepared this long ago. I'm going abroad. I probably won't come back. You are the elder my mother brought from her family home. Being here now, they won't treat you kindly. This money is enough for you to enjoy your retirement. Listen to me. Resign and leave this place. Zhang Ma looked at the thin card in her hand, then looked at me on the bed, covered in wounds, yet still caring for her. She couldn't hold it back anymore. Tears streamed down her aged face. She collapsed to her knees with a thud. I quickly stopped her. Zhang Ma, I'm craving the lotus root and pork rib soup you make. Okay. I'll go make it right now. Right now. Zhang Ma quickly wiped her tears, and hurried to the kitchen. The room became quiet again. I stared at the ornate but cold ceiling, and slowly closed my eyes. Over the next few days, I stayed in my room recovering. Enduring the intense pain, I slowly packed all my luggage. I also gathered everything that Shen Buyu had given me. She doesn't love me, but she is certainly generous. All these things combined are worth nearly 100 million. I originally wanted to throw them away, but then I thought, and called the owner of the high-end club I often visit. I heard the club was holding a charity auction, so I said I had many items to auction. The other party replied quickly, saying there was an event tonight, and told me to come over. In the evening, I took those large suitcases to the club. After handing the items to the auction manager, as I turned around, I coincidentally saw Shen Buyu and Fang Xiu arriving together. Shen Buyu leaned closely against Fang Xiu. When Fang Xiu saw me, a flash of smugness and provocation crossed his eyes. I instinctively clenched my fist, but quickly let go. I have important business today. No need to waste my emotions on them. Just as I sat down, the lights suddenly dimmed. The host took the stage, and excitedly announced that before the auction began, there would be a 3-minute kissing segment. Couples present, please enjoy yourselves to the fullest. Spotlights swept randomly across the dim venue, illuminating pairs of men and women embracing and kissing. I happened to see not far away, Shen Buyu smilingly wrapped her arms around Fang Xiu's neck. Fang Xiu looked down at her, then leaned in and kissed her. But before my heart had time to ache, the next second, a heavy iron decorative light fixture overhead loosened. Then it crashed straight down toward Fang Xiu. Shen Buyu reacted quickly, suddenly pushing Fang Xiu away, but the edge of the fixture still grazed the back of Fang Xiu's head. Seeing this, her expression changed drastically. She immediately pulled Fang Xiu, rushing anxiously toward the parking lot to take him to the hospital. Meanwhile, I was hit by another light fixture. The pain was almost enough to make me faint, and I was also taken to the hospital by a kind passerby. The accident happened suddenly, and ended just as suddenly. Only a few of us were affected. I had just finished recovering at home, only to find myself back in a hospital bed in the blink of an eye. However, not long after I was settled into the ward, Shen Buyu stormed in. Her face was terrifyingly grim. The look in her eyes was as if she wanted to eat me alive. Fang Xiu, I checked the surveillance. You bribed the club staff, deliberately loosened the light fixtures, trying to kill Fang Xiu. Is that right? Are you out of your mind? Shen Buyu, besides you, who else would have such malice toward Fang Xiu? Fang Xiu, I really underestimated you. I didn't do it. That's it. Shen Buyu, you have no right to slander me. It seems that unless I teach you a lesson, you won't tell the truth. As she spoke, she took out her phone, and made a call. Fang Xiu, the second young master of the Fang family, suspected of intentional injury. Send people over. Lock him up for a few days to clear his head. My eyes widened, my face full of disbelief. I couldn't believe she would actually use her connections to throw me behind bars. Then what was the point of me being hit? Soon, men in uniforms arrived at the ward. Ignoring the doctor's warnings and my injuries, they forcibly took me away. The following few days, for me, were nothing short of a living hell. There, I suffered immensely. The other inmates seemed to have received special instructions, bullying me in every possible way, beating and kicking me. A few days later, when I was released, I was barely recognizable as a human, covered in wounds, on the verge of death. What kept me crawling out of that hell was a message I had just received on my phone. My visa was finally approved. I took a taxi back to the villa, preparing to pack my luggage, and rushed to the airport. But as soon as I entered, I bumped into my good friend Shen Luoheng, who had returned from his world tour and learned everything, rushing over in a hurry. Seeing me in this state, his face was full of guilt, apologizing incessantly. Fang Xiu, I'm sorry, it's all my fault. Back then, I just didn't like my cousin's ex-boyfriend, so I intentionally provoked you to mess with her. I didn't expect it to turn out like this. I didn't know her first love was Fang Xiu. If I had known, I would rather die than let you go. I don't blame you. It's all in the past. I've already let it go. I plan to go abroad, and probably will never come back. Shen Luoheng was stunned. He hurriedly tried to persuade me to stay. Fang Xiu, don't go. Stay in the country. I'll protect you. As long as I have something to eat, you'll have some too. No thanks. There's nothing left here worth longing for. Before leaving, I took one last look back at this house that held all my childhood memories. Now my father, along with his mistress and illegitimate son, have moved into. I took out the gasoline I had prepared long ago. Ignoring the servant's pleas, I splashed it expressionlessly. Then I lit it. Flames soared into the sky, consuming everything from the past. Then, carrying my last piece of luggage, I turned away decisively. Shen Luoheng drove me to the airport. He kept apologizing along the way, saying he'd give me a whole garage of luxury cars as compensation. I just shook my head, leaning gently against the car window. Only by saying goodbye to the wrong one can you meet the right one, even if I don't rely on talent. With a face like mine, as long as I want to, the people I meet in the future will only get better and better. Right. Our handsome Mr. Fang can have whatever he wants. Arriving at the airport, Shen Luoheng hugged me and wouldn't let go, still apologizing incessantly. I know his temperament. I don't blame him. It wasn't his fault. I gently patted his back, then let go, gave a cool wave of my hand, turned and walked toward the security checkpoint. Shen Luoheng watched helplessly as my figure disappeared at the end of the tunnel. After an unknown amount of silence, he finally plucked up the courage to call Shen Buyu. The phone rang for a long time before being answered. Cousin, Shen Luoheng's tone was sharp. I know you like Fang Xun, but you and Fang Xiu were together for 3 years, for goodness sake. He's leaving now, and he's never coming back. Could it be that you aren't even willing to see him off? There was a dead silence on the other end. A few seconds later, Shen Buyu's voice finally came through. What did you say? Who left? Fang Xiu. He's gone. He took the fastest flight out of the country. He said he'll never come back. Cousin. Are you satisfied now? Shen Luoheng almost screamed it. Then he slammed the phone down. A rapid busy signal sounded in the receiver. Shen Buyu remained in the position of holding the phone, frozen in place. Gone. Abroad. Never coming back. These few words combined hit her brain like a hammer. She frowned, threw the phone back onto the table, trying to refocus on the crucial merger and acquisition document in front of her. However, those dense words and numbers now looked like a swarm of chaotic ants, crawling before her eyes. Unable to focus, her mind uncontrollably replayed the look I gave her before being sent to the detention center. Irritated, she loosened her clothes, stood up and walked to the huge floor-to-ceiling window. After looking for an unknown amount of time, she suddenly grabbed her car keys and strode out of the office. As the elevator descended, she dialed the private number of the airport manager. Check. Which outbound flight Fang Xiu is on? Immediately, when she arrived at the airport at a staggering speed, the airport manager was already waiting there, trembling with fear, handing over the information just found. President Shen, Mr. Fang is on flight FX-108, bound for Paris. The plane took off 20 minutes ago. Shen Buyu's steps came to a sudden halt. She looked up, looking at the huge flight information display screen. The status bar for flight FX-108 clearly displayed 3 cold green characters. Departed. She stood frozen in the bustling, crowded hall. Around her were announcements in various languages, the rolling of suitcase wheels, and the chatter of passengers. Just then, the phone in her pocket vibrated again. Fang Xun's name flashed on the screen. She took a deep breath, answered the call. Buyu. My head is still a bit dizzy. Are you still busy? I miss you. If it were before, she would have dropped everything to rush over immediately. But now, she looked at the flight light that had just disappeared from the night sky. After a long silence, she finally replied, I'm coming now. When arriving at the hospital's VIP ward, Fang Xun was leaning against the headboard. His face was a bit pale. Seeing her enter, a joyful smile immediately appeared on his face. Shen Buyu sat by the bed, listening to Fang Xun's rambling, but she was somewhat distracted. Fang Xun sensitively noticed her unusual silence, cautiously probing. Buyu, are you worried about Fang Xiu? I heard it from Dad. He went abroad, but since things got so out of hand this time, it's good for him to go abroad to clear his head. Once he figures things out, maybe he'll come back. Let's not mention him anymore. Fang Xun immediately nodded upon hearing this. A smile returned to his face, but what he didn't know was, after he fell asleep, Shen Buyu took out her phone again. Her finger hovered over the screen for a moment. Eventually, she opened the chat with her assistant, and typed a line. Keep an eye on Fang Xiu's movements abroad. Send me a weekly summary. However, just as her fingertip was about to touch the send button, she paused. What am I doing? Just a playmate. Is he worth my attention? With a flick of her finger, she quickly deleted the drafted message. Life after reuniting with Fang Xiu, to outsiders, seemed perfect and enviable. A perfect match in status. A handsome man and a beautiful woman. Shen Buyu also fulfilled all the responsibilities of a girlfriend. Eating, commuting to work, attending necessary social events. But only Shen Buyu knew that this seemingly perfect life was actually dull and tasteless. While reviewing documents by the office's floor-to-ceiling window, she would suddenly zone out, remembering a time when I would sneak in when she was at her busiest, hug her from behind, purposely breathe in her ear, disrupting her entire work rhythm. When taking a private jet, she would subconsciously look toward the tiny restroom, and when I finally carried her out wrapped in a blanket, she would still mutter stubbornly. These untimely memories emerged like ghosts, making her incredibly irritable. She took Fang Xiu to the place we used to go, a private restaurant that requires booking months in advance. The dishes were still exquisite. The ambience was still elegant. Shen Buyu ate in silence, but she inexplicably remembered how I would always take advantage of her not noticing. Quickly snatched the dish she wanted from her bowl, gasping from the spice with my tongue out, and in the end, I'd always use her hand. Drink the wine from her glass to soothe the heat, then say with complete confidence, "What's yours is mine." That meal was always chaotic, yet full of life. But this meal before her was so quiet that only the faint clink of cutlery remained, so stifling she could almost suffocate. At night, she habitually slept on the inner side of the bed. In a half-asleep state, her arms subconsciously reached out to pull someone close. She felt a warm body. No, the temperature was wrong. It lacked that vivid, burning heat. The scent was wrong. It lacked that natural body fragrance. Even the subtle sound of breathing during sleep was wrong. I am a very restless sleeper. I'd unconsciously steal the blanket, like a little beast seeking warmth, dazedly burrowing into her arms. Shen Buyu snapped her eyes open. A strong sense of repulsion surged in her heart. For the first time, she pushed Zun away almost rudely. Getting out of bed. Go back to sleep. I just remembered there's an urgent document to handle. After saying that, ignoring Fang Xiu's bewildered look, she walked straight into the study, and closed the door. She needed to be alone, needed to calm down, needed to banish the increasingly clear figure from her mind. A week later, an important business banquet. Shen Buyu and Fang Xiu attended. Everyone thought they were a match made in heaven, but Shen Buyu found the occasion incredibly dull. During the banquet, the young master didn't like Fang Xiu. He deliberately made things difficult for him. Fang Xiu could only look back at Shen Buyu. If it were before, Shen Buyu would feel his family background was insufficient, and that he naturally needed her to save face. But at this moment, she inexplicably thought of me. If I were in this situation, I would probably have splashed the wine from my glass back at them, and then casually said, "Sorry." My hand slipped. This stark contrast startled her. Just then, a scion of a wealthy family with a grudge against the Beis and a foul mouth strolled over to offer a toast. "I heard you and Fang Xiu broke up. He's gone abroad to enjoy himself. What a pity." I really wanted to have a taste of him, but before the words had fully left their mouth, Shen Buyu suddenly slapped the person hard across the face. The other person was caught off guard, let out a scream, and was knocked straight to the ground. Blood instantly gushed from their nose. The entire room fell silent instantly. Everyone stared in shock at this sudden scene. Shen Buyu looked down at the person wailing on the floor. "Who the hell do you think you are?" After saying that, she stopped looking at the person on the floor and the stunned guests, left a cold, "Watch your mouth," and pulling along an equally terrified Fang Xiu. She turned and left. This was the first time in her life that she had lost her composure in such an important public setting, and the reason was simply because of someone's casual mention of me. On the way home, the atmosphere in the car was oppressive. Fang Xiu seemed frightened. After a long silence, he cautiously hinted, "Buyu, my mother called again today to ask us when we're considering getting married." Shen Buyu rubbed her temples, her tone full of indifference. "The company has several cross-border mergers in a critical stage. I'm very busy. We'll talk about it later." Late at night, Shen Buyu stayed alone in the study. She opened an encrypted album on her phone. Inside was only one very short video. It was from a gathering of friends a few years ago. Someone cheered for me to sing. Unable to refuse the enthusiasm, I jumped onto the stage, grabbed the microphone, and sang an upbeat pop song. When did she save this video? She had forgotten herself, looking at that free-spirited figure on the screen, and contrasting it with her current stagnant life. Shen Buyu's heart felt as if it were being tightly gripped by an invisible hand, bringing a suffocating, dull pain. She abruptly closed the video, flipped the phone face down on the table, her chest heaving violently. Time flew by, and in the blink of an eye, it was 3 years later. Capital International Airport. Shen Buyu returned from a business trip for an important cross-border project. Fang Xiu accompanied her as her fiancé. Their trip was low profile. They went through the VIP channel, avoiding the noise of the general passengers. However, just as they stepped out of the exit, a deafening roar of sound crashed over them. The arrival hall was packed with people. Countless young fans held flashing light boards and flowers. They fervently shouted the same name in unison: Fang Xiu. The noise was loud enough to nearly blow the roof off the airport. Many ordinary passengers also stopped in their tracks, looking around curiously, whispering among themselves, "Who is this? What a huge commotion. Don't you know? Fang Xiu, the top superstar right now. He debuted 3 years ago, called the modern-day Panin, the thousand-faced best actor." Shen Buyu's steps, upon hearing my name, came to an uncontrollable halt. She subconsciously followed the sound and the gaze of the crowd, and finally, her gaze fixed on a giant advertisement board hanging on a massive pillar across the hall. She stood frozen in place, her eyes locked onto that massive poster. All the surrounding noise seemed to fade away in an instant, and the world held only that figure, as dazzling as the stars. At that moment, Fang Xiu also saw the billboard. He subconsciously tightened his grip on Shen Buyu's hand. "Buyu, that's Fang Xiu. I heard a while ago that he went abroad to develop his career. Apparently he became a celebrity. Instead of being a proper young master, he ran off to a place like the entertainment industry." His voice carried a certain deliberate disdain, but Shen Buyu acted as if she hadn't heard a word. It's not that she didn't know. Over these past 3 years, although she never took the initiative to look for me, but news about me, always through various channels, reached her ears. She knew I hit the peak the moment I debuted, knew every movie of mine was both critically acclaimed and a box office hit, knew how many heavyweight awards I had won. She even had her assistant secretly buy tickets for all my movies, collected posters and merchandise of products I endorsed, hidden in the most secret drawer of her study. She just never allowed herself to come find me. The next moment, her gaze pierced through the surging crowd, locking onto the figure who had just been strictly escorted by bodyguards and assistants. Emerging from the general exit, with just one glance, she felt I was even more dazzling in person than on the posters. Just as Shen Buyu, across the sea of people, was gazing at me, a woman suddenly broke through the crowd with a smile, holding a huge, eye-catching bouquet of Ecuadorian roses, and walked up to me. It was Shang Xinci, the heiress of the Shang family. Shang Xinci naturally took the carry-on luggage from my hand, leaned down and whispered in my ear, saying something softly, and I was made to laugh out loud by her. Witnessing this scene, Shen Buyu's expression instantly twisted. The atmosphere around her suddenly dropped. Even Fang Xiu beside her couldn't help but shiver. They were almost pushed by the flow of people to the parking lot. Coincidentally, Shen Buyu's car happened to be parked near my team's conspicuous stretched Lincoln. Shen Buyu saw Shang Xinci diligently open the car door for me. Just as I leaned over to get in the car, I felt something, and suddenly turned my head, locking eyes with Shen Buyu. The next second, I gave a polite nod. "Why is Shen Buyu here?" "None of my business." At the same time, Shen Buyu's heart leaped into her throat. She could even clearly hear the sound of her own blood flowing. But the next second, it became dead silent. In my eyes, she saw strangeness and distance. I just gave a slight nod in her direction, as if just responding to an insignificant passerby fan who recognized me. Then, I indifferently withdrew my gaze, leaned over, and sat in the car, from beginning to end, without a moment's hesitation. And Shang Xinci noticed Shen Buyu at this moment. She closed the car door, through the window, raised an eyebrow toward Shen Buyu, and curled the corner of her mouth. Then the black stretched Lincoln sped away, disappearing at the exit of the airport parking lot. Seeing this, Shen Buyu felt as if she were nailed to the spot. Fang Xiu called her several times from the side, but she seemed not to hear. There was only a buzzing in her ears. A voice echoed repeatedly in her mind. He saw me, but he ignored me. After returning to the hotel suite, Shen Buyu threw herself heavily onto the sofa. That night, she stayed awake all night. The scene at the airport played over and over in her mind. The way I looked at her, like looking at an insignificant stranger. The intimate interaction between me and Shang Xinci. Xinci, and Shang Xinci's final provocative gesture. Every detail was like a poisoned needle, piercing her skin. Only then did she suddenly realize she couldn't bear it. Me looking at her with those eyes, and even less could she bear another woman standing by my side. The more she thought, the more agitated she became. Then she suddenly stood up, walked to the liquor cabinet, poured a glass of strong liquor, and downed it in one gulp. Then she picked up her phone, and called her assistant. Immediately, find out Fang Xiu's detailed address in Jingbei, all his scheduled itineraries for the coming week, and also, that Shang Xinci, what she's been doing for the past 3 years, what exactly is her relationship with Fang Xiu. I want the most detailed report. The faster, the better. After the order was given, she paced back and forth in the room, waiting for news. Every minute and second felt exceptionally long. A few hours later, the assistant called back, reporting the investigation results in detail. My address and itinerary were listed, and the information about Shang Xinci made Shen Buyu's heart sink further. Shang Xinci, prominent family background, exceptionally capable herself. Ever since I went abroad 3 years ago, this young lady shifted almost all of her focus to Europe, staying permanently in Paris. In her capacity as an investor, she quietly paved the way for me, using her connections and resources, helping me quickly establish a foothold in fashion and film. For these 3 years, she was almost like a guardian, staying by my side. We are very close, known to everyone as good friends, but whether we've become lovers is a subject of much speculation. Good friends, Shen Buyu sneered and hung up the phone. There's no such thing as pure friendship between a man and a woman. I can see through Shang Xinci's intentions at a glance. And you, Fang Xiu, how could you let someone like her get close to you? At this moment, a strong hostility and an unprecedented sense of crisis enveloped Shen Buyu's heart. For the first time, toward the name Shang Xinci, she felt disgust and jealousy. She really wanted to see me, really wanted to ask about my relationship with Shang Xinci in person. Fortunately, a week later, the opportunity arrived. The assistant reported that I would attend an afterparty for a top haute couture brand. Shen Buyu immediately used her connections to get an invitation. The party was held in a historic private estate. As soon as Shen Buyu entered, she quickly spotted me. At that time, I was talking to several internationally renowned directors and producers, switching fluently between French and English, holding a wine glass. Shen Buyu gazed at me through the crowd. She waited patiently until she saw that I seemed a bit tired, and walked alone toward the garden terrace to rest. Now's the time. She quietly followed me. The night breeze on the terrace was slightly cool. I was leaning against the railing, looking at the lake in the distance. Shen Buyu walked up behind me, took a deep breath, suppressing the turmoil in her heart. When she spoke, she subconsciously used an interrogative tone. You and Shang Xinci, what's going on between you two? I wasn't surprised by her appearance, but I couldn't even be bothered to look back. Isn't this President Shen? Long time no see. But as for who I'm with, it seems I don't need to report to you. That, President Shen, and the distant attitude made Shen Buyu feel suffocated. She took a step closer, and grabbed my hand. Fang Xiu, after being gone for 3 years, you've lost even your basic taste and judgment. Don't you know what kind of person Shang Xinci is? She plays even wilder than I do. What can she give you? Hearing this, I turned around, looking down at Shen Buyu. President Shen, it seems you're in no position to judge others. You say Xinci plays wild. What a coincidence. I used to be a notorious playboy in the Beijing circle. We're quite a match. Besides, Xinci never denies her feelings for me, and respects any of my choices and wishes. Unlike some people, who clearly had someone else in their heart from start to finish, yet still used the guise of trying things out, wasting 3 whole years of someone else's youth. Shen Buyu, who do you think is more rotten? These words were like a loud slap, hitting Shen Buyu hard across the face. Her expression immediately turned sour. She opened her mouth, but found herself speechless. Just then, a voice cut in. I wondered why I couldn't find you. Turns out you were tied up by someone irrelevant. Shang Xinci walked over with her long strides, and very naturally reached out to wrap her arm around mine. President Shen, long time no see. So, What are you chatting about with my boyfriend? Judging by the atmosphere, it doesn't seem very pleasant. Hearing the word boyfriend, Shen Buyu's head started buzzing. Her pupils contracted. She looked at me sharply, staring at me intensely, pleading for me to deny it, even if it were just a frown. However, I just tilted my head slightly, leaning toward Shang Xinci, tacitly agreeing with her, without even giving Shen Buyu another glance. Shang Xinci took in all of Shen Buyu's reactions, and couldn't help but laugh. I heard that President Shen and our Fang Xiu had some past connection, but that's all in the past now. Now that I'm taking care of Fang Xiu, he's doing great, so there's no need for you to worry, President Shen. She paused, her gaze pointedly sweeping over the empty space behind Shen Buyu. By the way, where is Mr. Fang Xun? Didn't you bring him along for some fun? So, did you come out this time, wanting to cheat? Mr. Fang Xun is truly pitiful. After saying that, she gave Shen Buyu no chance to speak, and pulled me away. Shen Buyu froze in place, watching us leave hand in hand, her hand by her side clenched into a tight fist. This was the first time she tasted the feeling of heart-piercing pain. After returning from the party, the atmosphere around Shen Buyu was terrifyingly oppressive. Fang Xun sensitively noticed her abnormality, and became even more cautious, showing excessive concern, trying to soothe her irritability. One evening, he entered Shen Buyu's room with a glass of warm milk. Buyu, have you been too tired lately? Do you want me to give you a head massage? Remember when we first met? Once, to save a kitten trapped in a tree, I almost fell off the ladder. After you helped me, we got together. Back then, I gave you a massage just like this. You said it felt great. He tried to evoke her memories with their first encounter. However, as Shen Buyu listened to him, her frown deepened. For some reason, a memory from long ago suddenly flashed in her mind. Words muttered privately by an old servant of the Fang family, saying that Fang Xun didn't seem to like animals as a child, and had even secretly killed a neighbor's cat. Then, Shen Buyu remembered my previous mockery of Fang Xun. In the past, she had never cared, even thinking that I was maliciously slandering him. But at this moment, she suddenly realized something. So, she calmly pushed away Fang Xun's hand. No need, I want to be alone for a while. Fang Xun was helpless, and didn't dare say more. He could only obediently withdraw. A few days later, Shen Buyu's highly capable assistant, while organizing a batch of old archives transferred from overseas, accidentally discovered a copy of an investigation report that had been deliberately concealed for years. It was an analysis of the suspicious points regarding my mother's fatal car accident back then. The report showed the accident was not a simple mishap. There was suspicion of human manipulation, and the primary beneficiary pointed directly to Fang Minghong, who quickly rose to power and took over the Fang group. Almost simultaneously, the spy Shen Buyu had planted inside the Fang group also sent an urgent message. The Fang group had long been an empty shell. Fang Minghong had embezzled huge sums of public funds in recent years, transferring assets through complex overseas transactions, and Fang Xun and Lin Wan, mother and son, not only knew, but were deeply involved in it. The Fang group is now riddled with debt, on the verge of bankruptcy. What struck Shen Buyu like a bolt from the blue was a secret recording sent by the spy shortly after. In the recording, was a phone conversation between Fang Xun and a so-called friend. Back then, I fell off that broken ladder on purpose, pretending to save a cat, just to get Shen Buyu to notice me. A woman like her falls for that kind of thing. The incident in the garden was also my own production. I knew Shen Buyu was coming out soon, so I timed it to crash into her myself. And that lamp stand at the club, I also bribed someone to loosen it. I wanted it to hit hard, but unexpectedly it only scratched the skin. But the effect was the same. What the hell is Fang Xiu anyway? He's not worthy of competing with me. Shen Buyu has only had me in her heart from start to finish. With a few simple tricks, she believed me. She even had Fang Xiu locked up for several days. Only at this moment did Shen Buyu discover the truth. And the first love she cherished was a carefully planned scam from beginning to end. And the harm she caused me, everything was built on these lies. She was a complete fool, played like a puppet by that mother and son. Shen Buyu stumbled, falling to her knees, her face as pale as paper. She immediately had Fang Xun brought to her room. When Shen Buyu slammed the ironclad evidence in front of Fang Xun initially tried to argue, but under the weight of the evidence and Shen Buyu's pressure, his mental defenses finally collapsed completely. He slumped to the floor, admitting everything. Shen Buyu, it's because I loved you too much. I was jealous of Fang Xiu. I just wanted you to care for me more. I'm sorry, I was wrong. I truly know I was wrong. Please give me one more chance. Shen Buyu looked down at Fang Xiu's distorted face, his hideous appearance, not a shred of pity in her heart. She only felt disgusted. At the same time, my face uncontrollably appeared in her mind. Even at my most miserable and painful moments, I never begged for mercy like Fang Xiu. At this moment, she finally understood. The one she was attracted to was not this hypocritical Fang Xiu, a first love illusion built on lies, but the vivid, real me, who, even when wounded all over by her, still gave her my sincerity and warmth without reservation. Her so-called responsibility and old feelings for Fang Xiu were nothing but self-deception. Once the truth came to light, Shen Buyu handled the aftermath with ruthless efficiency. She ordered Fang Minghong to immediately return all illegally seized assets, and used her connections to hand over evidence of the mother and son's crimes to the authorities. She broke up with Fang Xiu completely, cutting off all ties, without a single hesitation. But after doing all this, she didn't feel relief, but emptiness. Fang Xiu, I feel so miserable. Where are you? I want to see you. I want your forgiveness, even if there's only a 1 in 10,000 chance. For the first time, she cast aside all her poise and pride. Waiting downstairs at the villa my assistant had located. 7 p.m. She held an exquisite paper bag, containing something flown in from that old, famous shop I used to love. The signature cake of the dessert shop. She remembered my sweet tooth, especially when I was in a bad mood. Eating something sweet would make me relax completely. But she waited in the car for an entire night, until her eyes were bloodshot, until her face became haggard and miserable, until the first light of dawn. She saw a familiar sports car approaching, stopping at the villa entrance. I got out of the driver's seat, walked around to the passenger side, and opened the door for Shang Xinci. Shang Xinci ruffled my hair, saying something I couldn't hear, which made me smile. But this scene completely pierced Shen Buyu's eyes, so she pushed open the car door and walked over quickly. Fang Xiu, can we talk? I turned my head at the sound, and seeing it was Shen Buyu, I immediately frowned. President Shen, what are you doing here? We have nothing to talk about. Wait. Shen Buyu stepped forward urgently, frantically taking out her phone, wanting to show the evidence. Fang Xiu, listen to me. I've investigated everything Fang Xiu and his family did. I wrongly accused you. The incident in the garden back then, the light fixture at the club, and your mother's car accident were not accidents. It was them. I was stupid. I was blind. I was fooled by them. But before she could finish, I simply raised my hand to interrupt her. So, hearing this, Shen Buyu was momentarily stunned. The truth is out. And then, Shen Buyu. Do you think I'll burst into tears, run to you and say, you finally know, let's be together? Shen Buyu. Your apology, your regret, to me, is meaningless. The damage has already been done. The humiliation of being pushed away like trash, the searing pain of my wrist being broken in detention, all of this cannot be erased by a casual "I was wrong," or by this so-called evidence that you've brought. As I spoke, my gaze fell on the exquisite paper bag in her hand. I sneered. You still remember I like the desserts from this place. President Shen really went to a lot of trouble, having them flown in from so far away. I looked up, staring directly at her face, which instantly turned pale. However, I stopped liking sweets a long time ago. Too cloying to bear. After saying that, I didn't give her another glance, turning to follow Shang Xinci through the door. As the sound of the door closing echoed, the heavy solid wood door completely blocked her view. Shen Buyu froze in place, silent for a long time, and the paper bag holding the cake in her hand seemed to become incredibly heavy. Inside the villa, leaning my back against the cold door, I slowly slid down to the floor. It would be a lie to say I'm not sad. My chest still aches a bit, but more than that, is a sense of relief and exhaustion. Letting go wasn't as hard as I imagined. Shang Xinci sat on the floor with me, and slowly hugged me. Fang Xiu, I'm here. You still have me. All of this is in the past. Yes, it's all in the past. Outside the window, the rain fell harder and harder. Shen Buyu stood in the rain, devastated. She looked up at the window that would never open for her again. Her eyes filled with dead silence. She knew that what she had lost could never be recovered. After she returned home, for several days, Shen Buyu stayed in her room, seeing no one, handling no business, just staring blankly at the sky outside. My words, meaningless, echoed repeatedly in her ears. The look in my eyes, as if looking at a stranger, lingered in her mind. She couldn't accept it. Couldn't accept that I had kicked her out of my life like this. Couldn't accept that another woman was standing by my side. But the crushing defeat of her first attempt to win me back, instead of waking her up, it instead triggered the controlling nature in her bones. Things that I, Shen Buyu, want. I have always gotten. I was confused before, but now I see clearly. You must come back to me. A nearly insane thought grew in her mind. She had to create an opportunity, to force me to face her, to make me need her. She immediately called her chief assistant. Use all available resources. Find out what Fang Xiu's most important upcoming business collaboration is. No matter what method it takes, I want to intervene. The highly efficient assistant quickly reported. My team is currently in talks with a top luxury brand with a 100-year history, negotiating a global ambassador contract. It has entered the final critical stage. Hearing this, Shen Buyu's eyes lit up. She immediately, in the name of the Shen Consortium, sent a letter of intent to the brand's headquarters, proposing a collaboration plan that lost money just for the sake of it. There was only one condition: delay signing the contract with my ambassador. The strength and influence of the Shen Consortium were unquestionable, especially in the Asian market. Faced with such a huge profit temptation, the brand's executives, indeed, hesitated. The overseas video call signing meeting scheduled for the next day was postponed, requesting further evaluation. When the news reached my team, the atmosphere instantly became heavy. My manager frowned deeply, looking at me with concern. At that moment, I was practicing lines in front of the mirror for a movie scene I was about to act in. After hearing the news, I just felt speechless. Typical Shen Buyu style. She wants to force me to bow down. Shang Xinci was lazily curled up on the sofa playing games. Hearing this, she immediately put down her phone and walked to my side. Don't worry, I'm here. Shen Buyu's hand can't reach that far. When the video conference reconvened, on the large screen in the brand's headquarters conference room, I, Shang Xinci's team, and Shen Buyu appeared one by one. The meeting began. The brand's CEO cautiously mentioned the possibility of a more strategic partnership proposed by the Shen Consortium. His words betrayed some hesitation. Shen Buyu spoke up at the right moment. The Shen family highly values the development of your brand and believes our cooperation can bring a win-win result. As for the choice of spokesperson, I believe a more prudent consideration is needed to ensure their image aligns perfectly with the brand's core values. Though she didn't say it explicitly, her target was clearly me, implying my experience or image might be insufficient for such a responsibility. The atmosphere in the meeting instantly froze. Just then, Shang Xinci's lazy voice cut in. President Shen, long time no see. Why? Is business at home not busy enough that you have the leisure to worry about spokespeople in the European fashion circle? As she spoke, she looked directly at the brand's CEO, her tone becoming assertive and serious. Charlie, Fang Xiu's image, professionalism, and market appeal are evident to all. Our Shang Family Foundation is one of your brand's most important art sponsors. I personally admire your brand's philosophy very much. I believe that choosing Mr. Fang Xiu as the global spokesperson is the most correct decision. As for certain irrelevant external interferences, she paused, her sharp gaze sweeping toward Shen Buyu on the other side of the screen. Business has its own rules. Don't bring those unsightly personal emotions and tactics into the open. Fang Xiu got to where he is today through his own strength and hard work. He doesn't need anyone to bestow opportunities on him, and certainly doesn't need to accept threats with strings attached. Shang Xinci's words were like a loud slap across Shen Buyu's face, and shook the brand representatives. The Shang family's roots and influence in Europe were far beyond what the Shen family could match in a short time. Immediately after, it was my turn to speak. I calmly explained my understanding of the brand's century-long history, its craftsmanship, aesthetics, and core spirit, and combined with my own experience and future development, proposed highly constructive ideas for the spokesperson promotion. My speech was professional, confident, and fully demonstrated the poise and vision expected of an international superstar. The brand's executives exchanged admiring glances, and their previous hesitation vanished. In the end, the brand's CEO made the decision on the spot. The global spokesperson contract was officially signed. Shen Buyu's screen went dark first. She sat alone in her vast, cold office, listening to the busy signal in her ear, and clenched her fists. That night, she screamed at her trusted assistant, who stood still and dared not breathe, shouting, "Why? Why won't he even give me a chance to make amends? Everything Shang Xinci can give. What can't I, Shen Buyu, provide? Wealth, resources, status. I could even give him more. 10 times, 100 times. What on earth does he want? The assistant, seeing her near manic state, hesitated several times, but still cautiously whispered a reminder. President Shen, perhaps. What Mr. Fang wants has never been these external things. Hearing this, Shen Buyu was stunned. Not these things, then what is it he wants? For the first time, she began to truly ponder a question she had never thought deeply about. Is it unconditional trust? Is it an unwavering choice? Or is it love? She thought over and over but couldn't figure it out. Just as Shen Buyu was agonizing over this, a sudden piece of news instantly threw her into a panic. News flash. The Southern Alps in France, due to continuous heavy rain, have experienced massive flash floods and mudslides. Communications in several towns are cut off, roads are destroyed, and the situation is critical. And the urgent intelligence sent by the assistant showed that I was in that area. Seeing the last line, Shen Buyu's heart stopped instantly. I was invited to participate in an international children's foundation's charity shoot, right near the town most severely affected. Currently, communications across the entire region are completely cut off, fate uncertain. At that time, Shen Buyu was presiding over a board meeting concerning the group's important strategy for the next 10 years. When she heard the report from her assistant, she suddenly stood up from the head seat. She didn't even have time to offer an explanation. Under the astonished gazes of all the directors, she threw down the documents in her hand, turned around and rushed out of the meeting room. Prepare a plane immediately, as fast as possible, to Nice. Go directly to the nearest airport that can still land. Contact all local rescue agencies. Hire the best rescue team, no matter the cost. I'm going myself. What group strategy? What business empire? Faced with the news that I might be in danger, all became insignificant. Only one thought occupied her mind. Find me. Hours later, Shen Buyu, with an expensive and experienced professional mountain rescue team, forced a landing during a break in the rain at the nearest small airport still operational near the disaster area. The weather was extremely severe. Thick dark clouds swirled in the sky. Wind and rain lashed down. Shen Buyu didn't stop for a moment, transferring to a pre-arranged helicopter, flying directly to the area where contact was lost. But the helicopter couldn't land directly, and could only hover in a relatively safe area. Ignoring the crew's warnings, she was the first to slide down the rope to the muddy ground. The rescue captain looked at the road destroyed by floods, filled with landslides and broken trees, and urgently warned her, "Miss Shen, the road ahead is too dangerous. The mudslides are still happening. You can't go in. Stop talking. Lead the way." Shen Buyu's eyes were bloodshot. Walking at the very front, the floodwaters reached her calves, piercingly cold. Rubble kept rolling down the slopes. The gale almost knocked people over. While dodging a small landslide, a rolling rock suddenly crashed behind her, onto the backpack containing critical rescue equipment. Without a second thought, she instinctively shoved the backpack away with her body. But the edge of the rock sliced a deep gash into her left arm, down to the bone. "Miss Shen," the team members cried out, wanting to bandage her. But Shen Buyu felt it was a waste of time. She simply wrapped the wound haphazardly with a torn strip of cloth, gritting her teeth, and continued to charge forward. After over 10 hours of sleepless, almost life-risking searching, they finally, in a dilapidated classroom of a school, on slightly higher ground but trapped as an island by floods, found me. At that moment, I was with several teachers, comforting dozens of frightened children. My hair was messy, my face pale, and my clothes were filthy, but I remained calm, even softly telling stories to the children, trying to dispel their fear. When Shen Buyu, covered in mud and blood, appeared stumbling at the classroom door, everyone was stunned, including me. I looked up, and the moment I saw her, my face was filled with unbelievable shock. Our eyes met, and time seemed to freeze for a few seconds. Seeing me standing there unscathed, the heart that had been hanging in suspense for days, finally settled. Ignoring the piercing pain in her arm, ignoring her disheveled state, she rushed forward in a few steps, and under the astonished gazes of everyone, she pulled me tightly into her embrace, repeating over and over, thank God you're okay." Held tightly by her, I could clearly feel her violent heartbeat and the trembling of her body. In that moment, I patted her back, and then, I used force, but not too roughly, pushed her away. "Thank you, President Shen, for risking your life to rescue me. This favor, I will remember. Shen Buyu's arms became empty, and seeing my indifferent expression, the smile on her face vanished instantly. She froze in place for a long time. Just then, the sound of a helicopter landing came from outside. Shang Xinci arrived with another rescue team and supplies. She rushed into the classroom, immediately looked for me, seeing that I was safe and sound, clearly breathed a sigh of relief. Then, her gaze fell upon Shen Buyu. After seeing the wounds on Shen Buyu's body, her expression darkened, instantly becoming alert. In the temporary shelter, medical staff were cleaning and bandaging Shen Buyu's wounds. The wounds were deep, requiring stitches, but Shen Buyu seemed unable to feel the pain, her eyes constantly following me as I worked nearby. She whispered to the assistant beside her, "When he saw my injuries just now, did he have even the slightest bit of concern?" The assistant looked at her boss's pale and stubborn profile, and silently lowered their head. The answer was self-evident. The disaster rescue operation was like a giant rock thrown into a lake, creating massive ripples in everyone's heart. Shang Xinci witnessed with her own eyes how Shen Buyu risked her life to save me. This made her feel an unprecedented and tangible sense of crisis. She realized Shen Buyu's feelings for me were far deeper than she had imagined. She couldn't wait any longer. So, once the rescue work in the disaster area had stabilized, the night before my team and I were to return home, Shang Xinci didn't arrange any grand gesture, but instead chose a quiet moment. On a small hill near the temporary settlement, where one could see the starry sky, there were only the two of us. The night breeze was slightly cool. Shang Xinci looked at me as I gazed up at the stars. She took a deep breath, walked over and blocked my view of the sky. "Fang Xiu, there's something I've thought about for a long time, and I feel it's time to tell you. I know, you probably always felt that I constantly opposed you as a child, like an annoying tag-along. Actually, it was because I didn't know how to get your attention. You were too dazzling, like a little sun, always surrounded by people. I could only use those clumsy ways, just so you'd at least remember I existed. Later, as I grew up, I spent all my time in bars. Actually, it was because when I saw you with Shen Buyu, my heart ached, and I didn't know what to do. I could only numb myself that way. I also wanted you to see that I, Shang Xinci, wasn't unwanted. During the 3 years you were abroad, I followed you immediately, not for any other reason, but simply because I love you. Since I was very young, I've loved you." Hearing these words, I remained silent for a long time. These past 3 years, the kindness Shang Xinci showed me, every single detail, I remember it all. She accompanied me through the loneliness of a foreign land, silently supported me when my career faltered, stayed by my side all night when I was sick, respected every decision I made, never putting pressure on me. At that moment, Shang Xinci suddenly knelt and held my hand. "Fang Xiu, I know you're still hurting inside, and haven't completely let go of the past. I'm not in a rush. I can wait. I just want to ask you, could you give me a chance to let me, as your girlfriend, treat you well with a rightful status?" I looked at Shang Xinci, this woman who grew up with me, shared laughter and tears, yet never left my side during my hardest moments. I remained silent for a long time, so long that Shang Xinci's heart almost sank to the bottom. Finally, I gently nodded, with a smile. "Since you confessed to me, I have to say yes." Hearing this, Shang Xinci was instantly overjoyed. She excitedly threw her arms around me, holding me tightly. The news of our official relationship, though not intentionally made public, among our close circle of friends, it was no longer a secret. However, when this news reached Shen Buyu's ears, it became the final straw that broke the camel's back. At that time, she was in the hospital treating her arm wound. Due to searching in the rain and the wound becoming infected, she developed a high fever, and had to stay for observation. When the assistant, Xiao Vi, cautiously reported this news to her, Shen Buyu was stunned at first. Then she suddenly sat up in the hospital bed, ripping the 4 needle out of the back of her hand. Then she flipped over the medical cart by the bed. Impossible. How could he? How dare he? What right does Shang Xinci have? Shen Buyu ignored the doctor's obstruction and the assistant's persuasion, forced her way out of the hospital, drove straight to my villa. She even forgot that her arm was still bandaged, forgot that her high fever hadn't subsided. Only one crazy thought in her mind: to find me and get a clear answer. The night grew deep. She stumbled to the closed wrought iron gates of the villa, banging hard on the cold railings, screaming my name hoarsely. "Fang Xiu, come out. Tell me this isn't true. You can't do this to me. I was wrong. I know I was wrong. Give me one more chance. Fang Xiu. Her frantic behavior soon attracted the security guards. Several tall security guards tried to carry her away, but she struggled desperately. She was still calling my name continuously. Eventually, she was forcibly dragged away from the scene, and shoved into a car. Second floor of the villa. The curtains fluttered slightly. I stood behind the window, watching that absurd farce downstairs, watching the woman who was once so high and mighty, now being dragged away like a lunatic, with no expression on my face. Then, I drew the curtains tight. The next day, I sat by the sun-drenched floor-to-ceiling window, browsing through a newly delivered movie script, while Shang Xinci sat cross-legged on the carpet, handling business on her laptop, occasionally glancing up at me. But this warm atmosphere was suddenly broken by the tablet, by a news notification that suddenly popped up. Fang Ming, chairman of the renowned Fang Group, Hong is suspected of massive embezzlement and tax evasion, has been officially arrested. Fang Group's stock price crashed instantly, declaring bankruptcy and liquidation. Deep reveal. Behind the collapse of the Fang family, suspected precision strike by a mysterious capital giant. A series of bold headlines, shocking to behold. My finger slid across the screen and paused slightly. My gaze fell on the accompanying news photo. Fang Minghong was surrounded by reporters. His once confident face was now filled with panic and desperation. But there was no ripple of emotion on my face, as if watching a stranger who had nothing to do with me. Seeing this, Shang Xinci put down her computer, walked over to me, naturally leaning into my arms. She didn't say a word, only declaring through her actions that there is still someone by my side. In the following days, news about the Fang family continued to brew. Lin Wan tried to take the last bit of transferred assets to flee abroad, but was caught on the spot at the airport by the waiting police. As for Fang Zun, losing his father's protection, family bankruptcy, and the blow of his mother going to prison, he completely broke down. He tried to find Shen Buyu, fantasizing that she would help him out of old affection, but was coldly stopped by Shen Buyu's assistant, at the bottom of the group headquarters building, without even seeing her face. Shortly after, a gossip tabloid broke the news. Fang Zun, due to mental instability, was sent to a psychiatric hospital in the suburbs. I closed the news page, got up and walked to the window, looking into the distance. Shang Xinci leaned her head on my shoulder. It's all over. Fang Xiu. Yes. It's all over. That hatred, along with the collapse of the Fang family and Fang Zun's fate, completely vanished into thin air. It was also when I truly, with the past, said goodbye. The annual International Film Festival Award ceremony became the center of global attention. On the Starlight Avenue, the stars shone brightly. I held Shang Xinci's arm, walking calmly across the red carpet. Jing City, Shen Group's penthouse office. Shen Buyu didn't turn on the lights, sitting alone before the giant floor-to-ceiling window. In the darkness, there was only the glow from the TV screen. On the screen, the grandeur of the film festival was being broadcast live. When the camera gave a close-up of me and Shang Xinci, her pupils suddenly contracted. The award ceremony results were announced. With an art film that deeply interpreted the complexity of human nature, I successfully won the Best Actor award. When my name was called, the entire audience stood up and applauded. Under the spotlight, I slowly walked onto the stage, and took the heavy trophy from the presenter. I gave a brief acceptance speech, thanking the director and the crew. Then, I looked toward Shang Xinci in the audience. Finally, I want to specially thank my lover, Shang Xinci. Thank you for staying by my side, giving me support and strength. This trophy is half yours. The camera immediately focused on Shang Xinci. She stood up, and toward me on stage, blew a kiss from afar. Shen Buyu abruptly turned off the TV. In the darkness, she gasped for air. No, I can't just watch this. I must do something. The afterparty was held at the official film festival hotel. Not until late at night did Shang Xinci and I, surrounded by assistants and bodyguards, walk toward the underground parking lot. But just as we reached the car, a dark figure stumbled out from behind a pillar, blocking our path. It was Shen Buyu. She stared intently at me. Let's talk. Just for 5 minutes. 3 minutes is fine. Give me one more chance. One last time. I beg you. I really can't go on without you. Seeing this, Shang Xinci immediately stepped forward. Shen Buyu, look at yourself right now. Wake up. Fang Xiu is with me now. He is happy. Please stop interfering in his life. Happy? What makes you think you can give him happiness? What do you know about him? Do you know he's afraid of the cold in winter and likes to steal the blanket while sleeping? Do you know he can't handle spicy food but loves eating it, and has to drink ice water every time to soothe it? Do you know? Enough, I spoke up to interrupt her. Shen Buyu, the things of the past, don't mention them again. Between us, it ended long ago. It didn't end. How could it end? Agitated, Shen Buyu tried to grab my arm, but was pushed away by Shang Xinci. While we were arguing, no one noticed that, at the parking lot entrance, a black sedan seemed to, because of a drunk driver or loss of control, suddenly accelerate sharply, swerving erratically toward the direction where we were standing. Shang Xinci reacted first. However, someone was faster than her. Before anyone could react, Shen Buyu used all her strength to violently push me, who was on the outermost side, out of the way. And she herself, because of the reaction force, was left completely exposed in front of the out-of-control vehicle. With a dull, loud crash, Shen Buyu's body, like a kite with a broken string, was sent flying high into the air. The emergency room light stayed on all night. Shang Xinci and I waited on a bench in the corridor outside. At dawn, the emergency room door finally opened. The doctor walked out exhausted, informing us that Shen Buyu's injuries were extremely severe, with multiple fractures and internal bleeding. But after full rescue efforts, she is temporarily out of critical danger, and has been moved to the ICU for observation. However, she is not yet out of the danger zone, and requires close monitoring. I breathed a sigh of relief, but my heart remained heavy. After waiting outside the ICU for another day and night, Shen Buyu's vital signs gradually stabilized, and she was moved to a general ward. Shang Xinci accompanied me to visit her. Shen Buyu lay on the snow-white hospital bed, with various tubes inserted into her body. Her face was pale, emaciated and frail, but the moment she saw me enter, her eyes instantly lit up. Then, she struggled to make a sound. Fang Xiu. Shang Xinci patted my shoulder, signaling that she would wait for me outside, then thoughtfully closed the door. I walked to the bedside, and sat down on the chair. The doctor said you're fine for now. Shen Buyu looked at my face greedily, struggling to lift the hand not on the fore, wanting to touch me, but upon seeing the detachment in my eyes, it fell back powerlessly. I'm sorry, Fang Xiu, I'm sorry. She began to pour her heart out intermittently, from being blinded by Fang Zun at first, to later realizing her feelings, but because of pride and stubbornness, she refused to admit them. And finally, the pain and deep regret after losing me. She apologized over and over, repeatedly expressing her love, even casting aside all her dignity and pride, pleading humbly, Fang Xiu, I know I deserve to die 1,000 deaths, but please give me one more chance. Just let me spend the rest of my life making it up to you. Without you, there's no difference between living and being dead. I listened quietly, without interrupting her, until she grew tired of speaking, and her voice gradually faded. Then I slowly spoke. Shen Buyu, thank you. Thank you for saving me this time. This debt of gratitude for saving my life, I will remember. A glimmer of hope ignited in Shen Buyu's eyes, but my next words completely extinguished that hope. But love is not gratitude, and certainly not guilt. Between us, it ended long ago, when you, for Fang Zun's sake, used your connections to send me to detention, and let me suffer endless torment. Every time, you chose to believe him and hurt me without hesitation. Between us, it had already ended. Shen Buyu, let's just leave it at this. After saying that, I stood up, without looking at her again, turning around, walking toward the hospital room door. Outside the door, Shang Xinci was standing there. I walked to her side, naturally taking her hand, then left the room without looking back. Shen Buyu lay on the hospital bed, staring at the empty doorway, staring at my resolute departing figure. Tears involuntarily fell. Time flew by. Another year passed. This year, my career reached new heights. I took a role in an epic film directed by a top international director, playing a character who held on to their beliefs amidst the flames of war, with exquisite acting that shook the hearts of the audience. At the awards ceremony hailed as the highest honor in cinema, when the name for Best Actor was announced, the whole venue erupted. I rose calmly and hugged Shang Xinci, whose eyes were red with excitement, then walked toward the world-renowned stage, under the spotlights, holding the trophy symbolizing the highest honor in film. I gave my acceptance speech, thanking the crew, family, and friends. Finally, I looked at the woman below the stage. I want to dedicate this honor to my fiancé, Shang Xinci. It is you who made me believe love could be so beautiful, who gave me the courage to become a better version of myself. Miss Shang, please take care of me for the rest of our lives. The camera immediately cut to a close-up of Shang Xinci. She had already stood up, and facing me on stage, she made an "I love you" gesture. A week later, a low-key and warm wedding was held at a private estate, inviting only the closest family and friends. Sunlight, lawns, flowers, white gauze. I wore a piece by a designer friend, a simple and elegant handcrafted suit, holding Shang Xinci's arm, walking along a path strewn with petals. Our wedding invitations were also sent to some old acquaintances. Jing City, the top-floor office of the Shen Group. Shen Buyu stood before the giant floor-to-ceiling window, overlooking the city below, as prosperous as ever. She is thinner than she was a year ago. On the office desk, a delicate wedding invitation lies quietly. On the wedding day, she didn't go. She only went to that office where she and I once had countless entanglements. At this moment, the phone screen suddenly lights up. It is a text message from an unknown number. No text, only a photo. In the photo, I am wearing a suit, standing under the bright sunlight, facing the camera, smiling with immense happiness. A few seconds later, then another text message came in. Only one sentence. Shen Buyu, I forgive you. I also set myself free. Take care. Shen Buyu stared intently at the photo and the words. Her heart felt as if it were struck hard by something. Her hand trembled, caressing my happy smiling face on the screen. Tears finally surged out uncontrollably, falling in large drops onto the phone screen. She cried and laughed, like a madwoman. Finally, she pressed the phone tightly against her burning chest.